We're back at the Earth X television stage and we're welcoming Mike Bergey. Mike, welcome here. You're the president of Bergey Windpower out of Oklahoma. Way back when, in 1977, you were a young man and with your father, you started a wind power company. Now, in 1977, why were you starting a wind power company?
So I came up through mechanical engineering at the University of Oklahoma. My father was on the faculty, and he had a background in aircraft design. So he designed the Piper Cherokee series, popular small airplane. And as I came up through engineering, he was leading student programs on wind power and other projects. I started helping on those, got the bug, and when I graduated in 1977, we looked around. There were federal tax credits for wind and solar, but back then solar was just solar hot water heating. There was no photovoltaics industry. And we felt we could do a better wind turbine design than the products that were on the market. So we started the company.
And there you go. Almost half a century later, it's still there. And of course the world has changed a lot. But you're always focused on, like, may I say that, small scale wind, right?
That's correct.
And why?
So we started out to try to provide homeowners with a way to generate their own electricity. The electronics had recently been developed to allow a wind turbine to be connected to the utility grid. This was all new to both utilities and to our industry, but we felt that there was a market for that and that we could do a good product. So we spent 3 years developing a product, brought a 1 kilowatt turbine out in 1980, and quickly found that that was just too small for the type of rural homeowners that we sold to. And so we developed a 10 kilowatt, 10 times the capacity, that we brought out on the market in 1983. Since then, we've just kept within our lane, if you will, and tried to perfect small wind turbine technology. And we remain loyal to that goal, and I think that's one of the reasons why we've been successful.
So now I need to disclose that I'm Dutch, and I come from a country where probably the windmill was invented a few centuries ago. And that's all small scale. So I'm with you.
Right.
That said, I'm just trying to imagine in 1980 you have your first windmill, you knock on the door of a farmer and you say, hey, you need this. Well, what kind of response did you get?
So it actually worked the other way. They came and knocked on our door because they were looking for ways. We had the oil crisis. People were concerned about energy. There were federal incentives. Many states offered incentives. So our phone rang off the wall. And it wasn't farmers. Today it is. But back then it was rural homeowners.
I see.
They have an acre or 2 acres more property, and they had room to put up a small wind turbine to try to reduce their utility bills. That was unique technology back then.
Yeah.
That was really the first time utilities had customer-owned self-generation. A lot of those were Bergey wind turbines. And so it was all very new. It was high-tech. People just loved to see their meter turn backwards, their electric meter.
So there was savings, of course.
Of course.
But were there also opportunity off the grid and with batteries, or that came later?
So we did that. Our main business has always, what I say, we've always tried to focus on grid connected in developed countries. There was a period in the 90s when there was no market for that at all. Energy prices were low, and there were no federal subsidies or state subsidies, and so we did a lot of off-grid work, village electrification, remote cell sites. We have turbines installed in about 100 countries around the world, but as soon as we were able to, we turned our focus back to grid-connected rural US and European and Asian markets.
So you keep saying that, of course, your focus is on rural areas, and that makes sense. You need some land to do all that.
That's correct.
You know, when you live in a city, you can't do it because probably they won't allow you. But we can put solar panels, of course, on our roof in the city.
course.
But I've
Yeah.
been wondering, have you looked into building it like a very small windmill that I can just put up there on my own?
So that vision is the bane of my existence.
Thank you. I'm glad I asked.
because there have been so many opportunists, is the kindest name I can give them, who have come forward with a miracle wind turbine that you can put on top of your roof.
Yeah.
It's this big and will power your whole house.
Yeah.
The physics don't work out. The engineering
This
doesn't
is
work out.
the engineer speaking.
But they put most of their effort in marketing and make wild claims, raise money, and never can deliver. And there's just this continuous supply of those opportunists coming out of the woodwork. For the record, we don't support putting wind turbines on a roof, any roof, and there's a certain amount of land that you should have so that while it's not going to bother you, if it makes a little noise or you can see it, that's the sound of money, and that's, you're proud of your system. But your neighbor, you have to be conscious of their not quite seeing things your way. And so we find, as a rule of thumb, 2 acres, 2 hectare or 1 hectare is a good rule of thumb. If you have that size property, you have enough space for a wind turbine.
Yeah. And your wind turbine can be moved anywhere, everywhere.
Well, we put them in the ground and hope they stay there for a long time.
But you export.
We do, yes. As I said, about 100 countries. And we've had very, very active markets in the UK, in Japan. We had a subsidiary in China for 16 years, did a lot of work with China Mobile, the largest mobile phone company in the world. So yeah, and that's been a very enjoyable part of the business, is going out and seeing, particularly when we were doing rural electrification, rural water supply, to visit the villages where our wind system made a big impact on safe drinking water or electricity for irrigation, improving incomes and quality of life. That's really rewarding. I hope to get back into that. We haven't done so much of that in recent years.
So you started contributing to this clean energy transition way back when, but actually nobody was talking about global warming, climate change.
That's right.
It was just, you did it for the very good reason, so it's available, why not, right?
So-
what drove you?
Well, so you have to remember, back in the 70s, we had a lot of white-coated experts who said, if you knew as much as we do, you'd know that we need hundreds of nuclear power plants. But I was a follower of Amory Lovins, who said maybe these growth curves are not straight lines on log paper, and it's not energy usage is not doesn't need to be directly tied to GNP, and one of the motivations I had, and I believe my father as well, was we wanted to show that nuclear was not the only technology that could sustain us for future electricity supply.
Yeah.
So,
What is, if you look back, what are you most proud of that you have been able to achieve so far with your company?
So it's a very tough business. There have been well over 1,000 companies come and go, including a number from the Netherlands. And because it's so cyclical, energy prices go up and down, government policies go up and down, it's very difficult. I think what I'm most proud of is the fact that we have turbines that have been running for 45 years. We've learned from those, and I think we're on the verge of having small turbines that can run for a century. And if we can achieve that before I pass, I'll be pretty proud of that.
Yeah. So I was going to ask you, what is your dream? But I guess that's it, right?
Right.
To
And being from the Netherlands, those mills, those ran for 150,
Well,
200,
there you have
250. Might have taken a little bit of upkeep, but I think if you build it strong enough to survive the storms, they're pretty rugged. They'll last for a long time.
We still look at them at least,
Yeah.
and some on certain days they're still being run. Yeah,
Right.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Mike. Thank you
Okay.
for your great work.
My pleasure.